Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Unshakable Her. I am Furmi, your host, and today we are getting into what an unshakable identity looks like, what that looks like as you create this new identity because you just went on to this new road. Last time in our episode talking about healing, we spoke about two things, and I'm going to keep on referring to these things again. We spoke about what it looks like heading onto this road, onto the road of healing, and that it's not just a linear road, and it's not going to be just one simple fix it and all, but instead it's heading onto this road where it's bumpy and it's full of bridges and tunnels, and sometimes we fall off the road and then we head back on, but all hoping and knowing that eventually this road gets simpler and it gets easier and it gets straighter. And I mentioned, and I think this is where unshakable identity really comes into play, is that there's a certain point in your therapy, in your healing, where you begin to tap into this like natural GPS system that was somehow, sometime or someplace put inside of you. And the more you listen, the more you hear it. And it's like this knowing that sort of happens. It's like this place where you find who you truly are, and it helps you and it guides you on this road, and it talks to you and it tells you who you are and who you want to be and what strengths you really have and what things you can get rid of and how you can slowly evolve into who you truly are. I think before we go into what unshakable identity really is, I think the first part of an unshakable identity is really being okay with letting go of who you were and letting go of who you thought you wanted to be. And it's a hard thing to do. I remember when I was on this road of wanting to start therapy, of wanting to make very big changes in my life. And there was a part of me that had a very hard time with going off this road that I was on and sort of heading onto a path of unknownness, of not knowing and not recognizing my surroundings because I was heading into a new place. I didn't know who I was in that place. I knew who I was in my relationship. I knew who I was in this space where I just allowed everyone to mold me and shape me into who they wanted me to be. It was safe for me, but it really, truly wasn't me. I remember when I was young, I had this sort of image in my mind of what I wanted my future to look like. It was like this picture that I had where I'm sitting around this beautifully set table with my family. I'm sitting on one end, my husband's sitting on the other end, and we have a lot of children sitting in between, specifically boys. Again, this was my image that I had as a child. And just like the aura that was there and the vibe and the smell of just love and peace and just a beautiful family home. And for a long time, this image of what I wanted pushed me and directed me in the life that I was living. And even though my life wasn't going in that direction or wasn't feeling the same as what I perceived this image to feel like, I still pushed against nature in order to try to create this image for myself, until I realized that I could push as much as I want. That's not going to happen, because maybe it's not meant for me, or maybe it's not meant for me in the way that I saw it as a kid. Because right now I'm older, I'm wiser, I went through different life experiences. I laugh looking at that image, not because I don't think it's possible, and not because I don't believe that maybe one day I will have that. It's because of the naiveness that I had, thinking that that can just happen, thinking that that's something that just, I'll do everything and it'll just happen for me. Or just the fact that I wanted just boys around my table was just a whole different episode that we can go into, but just how that was training that happened inside of me, which doesn't fit with who I am today, after I slowly discovered who I want to be and who I truly am. And I think that many times as we head on to this journey, there is this part of us of letting go of who we wanted to be, of letting go also of what other people wanted us to be. And that was a very big one for me as well, of disappointing people, of heading into a space where I'm not going to be accepted by the people around me, that people are not going to appreciate this journey that I'm going on, that people just want me to stay in this picture perfect space because that's what makes sense and that's what you should do. And this is the way things are done. And it is letting go of that. And that is the first part of unshakable and identity, of letting go of who you were, of letting go of what other people wanted you to become or to be, and going into a space of darkness. It starts off as darkness. It starts off as, you know what it is? I think it's really the space of clearing everybody else out. Everybody moves out. For me, it was everybody had to go out. I didn't want to hear your opinions. I don't want to hear anything. Let me sit in myself. Let me discover who I am, because in that space where you wanted me to be something, or I was trained to be a certain kind of way, or I needed to fit the mold of everybody else in my community, that space did not make me happy. That space made me miserable. That space caused me to just want to constantly escape. That space did not allow me to be a good mother to my children. It did not allow me to be a good person to myself. So I knew I needed to shift. I needed to head off that road. I needed to get off on the other side of the fork of the road. And that space was heading into opening my computer system, opening everything up and looking through what's going on. And here is where, and this happens at a certain point, and it happens pretty early on, and especially if you feed into it and you take care of it, where you slowly start hearing who you are. You slowly start connecting to this space inside of you, this soul, your GPS tracking system, your identity, this energy inside of you that slowly begins to tell you who you are. You begin to realize what values you like. You begin to take care of yourself. You begin to believe in who you are, and you start walking with your feet just grounded in the floor, even though you have no idea where you are walking. But every step is grounded. Every step is with love, with peace, with knowing, with gentleness. And ultimately, it starts with going inside, with taking care of yourself, with blocking out the noise, with finding that eye of the storm. It really truly is finding that space inside of you where it's so lovely. It's just so lovely there, because you start to hear yourself. You start to listen to who you really are. And you begin to block out other people's noises. I think one thing that really helped me become who I am and shift away from who I was one of the first books that I read. And this was called The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements, I'll find out the name of the author. I'm very bad with names, but The 4 Agreements was one of the best books I read, and I keep on rereading it because of how powerful it is, and also because of how much of an impact it made on my life. This is like my number 1 book. And he talks about how many times we care a lot about what other people think. We make assumptions about what other people think about us. But when we realize that what they think about us is just their own limited beliefs, it is just their own codings, like in the computer codings that we spoke about, that was put inside of them, then we realize that they're limited. And because they're limited, right, and their viewpoints just see things in a certain kind of way, why am I going to live my life to please their viewpoints? That's just what they think. Like, for example, let's say someone grows up, right, in a home where the color black is just the most depressing color, and we just never wear the color black, right? It's shameful, it's degrading, it's depressing. You don't wear the color black. So you have this whole family that is raised in this home. So for any kid to break free from that, right, it's going to take him a lot of time. And not only that, if I'm walking down the street, okay, with a black colored dress, I'm wearing a black bow and a black dress and black boots and black earrings, and I walk down the street and that family that is standing there and I pass them by and they give me some snobby face, or they start whispering about me, or they start talking about me, ultimately, if you think about it, why should I care? They just think that black is bad. I don't think that. I should take off my dress to make your viewpoints happy, to fit into that coding that you were coded with. I should put myself down and not enjoy myself wearing black because you think that black is not okay. And I think the same thing happens in so many other things as well. How many times do we not let ourselves be who we are because of what somebody else may think? But that thing that that person thinks is just their limited codings that was put inside of them. It's not real. Why can't I be who I want to be? And I think that as we slowly form our identity and as we slowly become confident in who we are, right, and we raise ourselves back up and we start taking our steps with confidence, what other people think matter less and less and less. And another part of this is that we start to walk with who we are in authenticity. Authenticity is being true to who you are. That means I'm being who I want to be. I am listening to that GPS inside of me. I'm not listening to what you want. You are not putting your viewpoints on me. And most of all, I'm not letting your viewpoints control me. So I'm slowly starting to walk in authenticity, in trueness, in who I am. And that is the most confident that a person can walk in. That is the most confident, it is the most truest, it is the most magnetic. And that part really helps you slowly form who you are. Because the more you do things in authenticity, being authentic to who you are, doing something because you truly love to do it, you truly love who you are, and you slowly but surely love who you are becoming. You love the space you take up. You love being who you are. You love spending time with yourself. And that really helps shape you into the person that you slowly become. And I think this is what unshakable identity is. It is about letting go of the version of who you were, not necessarily destroying her, because that doesn't necessarily always happen. It might happen in certain cases, but it might just be a letting go of, and then walking into this space of slowly finding yourself again in an authentic way, in a real way, in a true way, where you listen to who you are. And I think part of that is doing things and doing activities that you truly enjoy. So let's say, for example, you're invited out, okay? And everyone's drinking around you, right? Or everyone's going somewhere, okay? And if you listen, you hear this voice telling you, don't go. I'd rather stay home, right? I'd rather not drink, or I'd rather do something else, right? And you do it anyways because you've become so aware of who you are. It just doesn't sit right. And then you know the next time that this happens, no, I'm actually going to sit with myself. I'm actually going to love and respect my own knowing inside of me and stay home and not join that party. And then when it happens again and again and again, you slowly become confident in who you are. You slowly get to know who you are. It's also this way of starting to take care of yourself. And this leads us into the other spaces of putting down boundaries, of respecting yourself, of learning to say no, learning not to involve yourselves in relationships that don't bring out the best of you, because you slowly listen to yourself in a very, very authentic way, and you start to take care of yourself. And this leads us back to our past episode where I spoke about where I had this misconception where people who started therapy became selfish. And I realize now it's not that they became selfish. It's that they just started to listen to themselves and they just don't know how to maneuver that. They don't know how to properly say no in a kind way. They don't know how to put down boundaries in a balanced kind way. It's something new. They're learning for the first time to put themselves first. And by doing that, to everyone around them who was so used to this person being so nice and kind and giving all the time, suddenly this person looks selfish. But they only look selfish because they're not being that selfless person anymore. And B, it's also because they really don't know how to do this. And it's just so new to them. So when they put down that boundary, it comes down a little rocky. It's like learning to drive for the first time and the car is shaking. It's like they just don't know how to do it. And when you do start to take care of yourself and you do start to put yourself first, it looks like that. But you slowly begin to listen and hear who you are on the inside, and you start taking care of yourself. And that will be a different conversation about self-care and how self-care helps you ultimately mold who you slowly are becoming, because taking care of your body and taking care of yourself all helps you find that clear space inside of you of that tiny GPS, of that soul, of that eye of the storm that's inside each and every person. It's like your shining light that guides you and helps you become that person that's going to guide you onto this journey and through this journey, and this person who you ultimately will become. Thank you for joining. I look forward to our next episode together.